Oh, baby, does that get me excited every single time? What's going on, everybody? Happy Tuesday. I'm with my man Rio. Usually I don't have Rio on full camera. Usually we're screen sharing. We'll get there in a sec. His camera's tweaking. Hey, maybe that's better for the people. Save a little eyesight over there. Just messing, Rio. I'm gonna say hi to you before I go to everybody else in chat. The camera might figure it out. It might not. We got your voice. That's all that matters. How are we doing today?
Yeah, struggle bus over here. I got an updated PC, and I guess it doesn't matter because my camera is now tweaking. But hopefully, I don't have any more technical difficulties. I don't get what's going on here, but I'll worry about that later. Yeah, obviously, super pumped about the partnership with Saber. I'll get the LaMelo Ball injury as we're on the show, but yeah, I don't really have too much to add. I think the guys broke it down everything on the show yesterday. If you haven't had a chance to go watch that, definitely watch that. Hoop and Tambo broke everything down from a pricing standpoint, and then Jordan hopped on. Really nice of him to hop on and kind of help out as well. And he's been in the Sabersim Discord pretty much around the clock. Him, Tambo. So yeah, a lot of tutorials on their YouTube channel. A lot of help within the Discord. So I'm really excited about the partnership.
Oh, yeah. By far, as you saw in the opening video, most valuable partnership. You have all the content you need at SHIPIT Nation, the cheapest in the industry by far. That's something from the beginning we've preached. Sabersim, they aren't the cheapest. They are the best. I think it's hands down by far the best public optimizer out there. When you're the best, you can't necessarily charge the cheapest. They did make a deal for us. And again, it probably will be available for some others. The core deal, it's not out there. They didn't have this previously. If you had Shiptimizer over here, I'm going to share a graphic. We'll do a little marketing, then we'll get into it. If you had the all access $99 content plus our optimizer, you now get 150 lineups with Sabersim. We're going to go and show it. The best optimizer. It'll be easier when I pull up this graphic. The next best deal, which we believe is the best value right here. So again, you're looking, if there's $79, you didn't have optimizer, you just had content, your grandfather did many of you $69 or cheaper. That's the all access content you see in the front. Nothing changes. The core, again, nothing changes. All you have now is Sabersim instead of Shiptimizer. Your grandfather did for the best deal with our content. If you had the optimizer, you now do have Sabersim, which you can find on the site, and we will be screen sharing. You get to build 150 lineups, and you get late swap. That is absolutely huge in NBA. The next best value, which we believe is the best, $30 more, 150 lineups, now go to 500 lineups. And not only that, you get projections and ownership for the sports we don't offer, like tennis, like League of Legends. What else is there? There's Call of Duty. I don't know if Call of Duty is going on. There's soccer. There is women's basketball. Or what do we call it? NWA, or what is that even now considered?
WNBA, you got it.
WNBA. No, I was going to go with the women's college basketball thing. WNBA. There's League of Legends. There's like 8 sports. Let me pull it up right here. I'm going to get every single one on the struggle bus right here, but I'm trying to get everything here. So we have golf, we have NHL, we have MMA, we have NASCAR. You get tennis, you get League of Legends, you get F1, CSGO, college basketball. How did I go women's besides college? Soccer, WNBA, UFL. So again, that's this best value, the starter package, 500 teams with all of our projections, ownership, et cetera, for the sports we offer. And you get projections, ownership, and the optimizer for sports you don't, and contest flashback, which if you don't know what that is, absolutely awesome. In every sport, you can go back, see which contests, like the $20 flagship, the $4. Then you can click on, I want to see what Rio did today. I want to see what Hoop did today, etc. That's a way to go back and study to prepare for the next. And if you do want Ultimate, that is what we will be screen sharing. We have the ability to do 5,000 lineups. The big change there, contest sims. You probably heard a lot about contest sims. Again, yesterday, Tambo Hoop talked about it a little bit. There's a lot of videos on YouTube. If you go to Sabersim Contest Sims, they can explain it. That is $297 for the first 30 days. That will go away, and that will go up. I use Contest Sims. Rio uses Contest Sims. Rio, I don't know if you want to try and explain it really quick. Again, I think the best value for many, unless you're playing hundreds of dollars a week, I don't think right now you should just jump right into the ultimate package in Contest Sims. If you play enough money, I do think it is worth it by far. I think the starter deal, again, $30 extra gets you 350 more lineups, get you the flashback and projection ownership from Sabersim with the sports we have. and don't. If you want to talk a little bit about contest sims, explain that to people, you can. But I think the starter, by far the best deal. Any grandfathered into the core deal, $30 more for starter if you want that. All you need to do, go to the site, shipination.com, join now, and you can upgrade your package there. Otherwise, you can email info@shipination.com. By far the best content, in my opinion, for the best price. And there's no doubt the best optimizer. Now it's 2-in-1. You want to explain anything a little bit about contest sims? Do you want to elaborate on our deals over here? Anything you want to add to the Sabersim talk?
Yeah, I would say that the base starter pack is probably enough for a lot of people. Obviously, a lot of the best players, not all of them, but a lot of them use contest sims, and I think it depends on like what level of DFS you're playing. Some people only need, the optimizer to build 1 to 20 lineups, maybe 150, and the contest sims may not be the best deal for you. But it all just depends on like your play style. For me, running 150 lineups, doing late swap and doing the contest sims for every single contest I'm playing in, it is a huge add-on and a huge benefit for me personally. I know that you're pretty big on them as well. But in terms of like what goes into the back end, I'm not going to pretend like I'm a computer guy and like I know everything. But I trust what the guys got on at Sabersim. They've been around for a long time. They've been one of the leaders in the optimizers in terms of DFS since they've been around, and they've only been improving year in, year out. And if you're in the Sabersim Discord, you see how many notifications they have on updates and everything. Like those guys are on top of it. So it's really cool to be partnered up with a company that I have a ton of respect for. I'm really pumped about it, and I know that a lot of members are pumped as well.
So much, yeah. I mean, it's impossible not to be. This is one of the biggest things we've done at Shipping Nation. Brought over DGen last year, the Stone. The Stone's still going to be huge on all of our sports. We have it for all the sports. We will be screen sharing the Stone like usual. Slate plan. Rio puts hours and hours and hours in the NBA slate plan. I'm not going to show it today. Again, I do think you still need content. You need Rio, his expert advice, 3 hours on Mondays when he's not in here, on Fridays when he's not on the show. I have the slate plan up right now on my screen. Again, I'm not going to show it to everyone because it is a paid piece of content. The content you can use to Sabersim. When we go through the show right now, we're going to get it started. When Rio's talking, I'm going to be doing stuff in the background. Again, we are screen sharing Optimizer, Sabersim. I'm going to have right here 500 lineups. So I know many probably. Again, we do have the contest sims availability. You can build 5,000 teams. Many probably have the 500, so we're going to do that. And right away, 500 teams is still a lot of teams. While some can build 5,000, etc., I would say the less teams you're able to build to start, the more rules and more adjustments I would do in this screen. Just say like right now, again, we're going to go game by game, and it's going to be a lot easier. But just say like for sure you don't want to play Porzingis or Ja. I would just X them out because you will not get then any teams with them. So in your 500 teams, the more rules, the more Xing out, the more min exposure, the more things you can do pre-step before you hit this build lineups, the more like closely narrowed, like you're going to get lineups you want to see because you're telling the optimizer. And optimizer, you have to tell it what to do. I saw stuff in right here. Les Sabersim couldn't win, so he joined SHIPIT to try. It's an optimizer at the end of the day. It's not like you just click 2 buttons and you magically win all the time. You have to find your process, put things into it, your own inputs, and that is the best way to use Sabersim there. So again, we're going to go game by game. I'm going to be going individual. Like we're just highlighting these games. That's what this filter does. So many tutorials how to do things like rules. We're going to be adding groups. So if Rio's like max 1, this guy, that guy, group, manual. So I'll be doing stuff in the background when Rio is talking. We have 7 games on tap. Again, talked a lot about Sabersim to start. Huge, huge partnership. It cannot be ignored. Very, very excited for this. When I won 113,000 in the NFL Showdown, I was using Sabersim. Again, I didn't just go click 2 buttons and they gave me the winning lineup. I put my own stuff, my own sauce into it. That is what you have to figure out. But so much power into this tool. Use a guy like Rio, his power, knowing NBA. You can get a lot of great results there, including our content. So any injury situation, just broad slate stuff in terms of this 7-game slate, Rio. As you can see right here, the times. If you click it and you're wondering how I see these games, this drop down right here. So you can see 1 game at 5, 1 game or 7 Eastern, 7:30, 3 games at 8 Eastern, 2 games at 10 Eastern. So you see a 2-hour window between the first 5 games. Couple Q tags, hasn't been as many as we usually see. Anything you want to talk about before we go into this first game, Raptors Boston?
No, I don't think so. We got the biggest news on the slate, I would say, was the Charlotte stuff, and we did get that. I did write my my notes for that game with the assumption that LaMelo would be out. So it's good to have that news nice and early, but I think everything else is pretty straightforward. So yeah, I'm ready to jump into it.
All right, let's jump into it. The first game. Actually, you know what? I gotta say hi to everyone. Everyone in chat first. We got DFS buddy Sean, Lay the House, Ricky, Max Manning, Richard, William, NY, Little Neck, Lyle, Nate D, Nika, Rob, Cody Berry, Desmond, Ian. What's going on? LSU Life, Lakota Kid, Russell, Jake, Al Money, Philly Phantom, Ev, MVP, Russell Prime, Josh, Big Ed, Self. Put me in, Coach, Big Marley, Mr. Mike's Daddy. Think that is every single person. Appreciate everyone hanging out. Like button, subscribe button, helps us out a ton. Again, I'm just stroking the Sabersim right now. Super excited for everyone to have it on our site. Many members already been messing with it. And again, if you did have Shiptimizer before Optimizer, you do have the plan, 150 lineups, the basic, $30 more you can upgrade either on the site or email info@ShipitNation. First game of the night, the only game that starts at 7 Eastern. Boston, big favorites at 11, taking on the Toronto Raptors. 225 total. Injuries in this one. No Drew Holiday on the Boston side. No Luke Cornett. Al Horford is questionable. For Toronto, Jakob Poeltl is questionable. I believe he missed last game. Do you have any lean on the Jakob Poeltl injury news? And then get right into this first game.
Yeah, it sounded like Poeltl was pretty close to returning the last game, so I think there's a good chance that he plays tonight. But I think the bigger injury news is on the Boston side. Obviously, Drew going to be out tonight, rest purposes, because they do have a pretty big game tomorrow night. Al Horford is questionable. Usually they flip-flop guys that are going to be in and out. So I wouldn't be surprised if Al sits as well, because they do play Detroit tomorrow, which is kind of crazy to say. I mean, Detroit's been one of the hottest teams in the league over the past week or two. I think they've won 8 in a row, beat the Clippers last night, so they've been playing really well. So I think that the Celtics could sit more guys tonight and then ramp up for tomorrow. But matchup-wise, should be a decent spot. It's not surprising to know that Toronto has struggled on defense as of late. They're bottom 9 in defensive rating in February, allowing the 7th most rim points. Their three-point defense has been a lot better, only allowing 3 per game, which is good going up against Boston. But I think a lot of that is mainly due to low shot volume because their rim defense has been so bad. As we mentioned a couple weeks ago, when David Mitchell was kind of getting de-emphasized and then eventually traded along with Bruce Brown, the pick and roll defense has gotten a lot worse. Don't really have a ton of high volume pick and roll scorers on the Celtics. It's mainly, a little bit of White, a little bit of Tatum, a little bit of Jaylen Brown, but still a spot to attack for them. Celtics kind of just rolling along, 6th ranked defense this month, top 10 in rim defense and 3-point defense. And it's kind of been the case all season long. Their on-ball defense is not great. Pick and roll defense, they're bottom 4 in the league. So starting with the Boston side, I do like the spot for both Tatum and Jaylen Brown against a struggling Raptors defense. Tatum going to have probably the tougher matchup. I would imagine it's going to be Scotty Barnes on him, who I would say right now is probably the Raptors' best defender. But I still think it's a pretty good spot for him. He's averaging 21, 9.7, and 6.3 assists per game against Toronto this season, 46 DK points. Two of the 3 games that the Celtics have played the Raptors this season have been really big blowouts, so we haven't seen huge minutes. But Tatum's coming in off of a string of really strong games, double-doubles in 2 out of the last 3, with a triple-double in the other game, all while topping 50 DraftKings points in 5 straight games. So I do kind of have a little bit more interest in Tatum than ownership would say tonight. Jaylen Brown as well, too. I think this is a good spot for him. The price is starting to come down. Him and Porzingis, almost a coin flip in terms of pricing. But in terms of style, it does match up a little bit better for Jaylen Brown, as he's the more drive-heavy player between Tatum and Brown. He's leading the team in points off the drive and drives per game. He's been not great in the 2 out of 3 games against the Raptors this season, but like I mentioned, a lot of that was due to blowout, because I think they blew them out by like 40 once and then like 25 the other time. The other game that was closer, where the Raptors were able to hang around, he put up 46.5 DK points, which I think would be really good at his price tag. So I do like both Tatum and Brown. Probably would set a max 1 rule tonight, because there's a lot of high upside duos on multiple teams tonight that I think I don't want to pigeonhole myself too much by getting any combinations of the 2 of them when I could have somebody else in those lineups. So I would probably set a max 1 rule of Tatum and Jaylen Brown tonight. Porzingis has a really good matchup, but the price has come up. Minutes have been pretty strong for him. DVP-wise is one of the best matchups you can get with Toronto bottom 4 against centers this season. I think that just for 200 more and better positional eligibility, I would prefer Jaylen Brown. I do have a lot of interest in Derek White too. He's been playing really well as of late. He has a near double-doubles and triple-doubles in 4 straight games, or 3 straight games, sorry. His rebound totals of 9, 10, and 7, and assist totals of 7, 2, and 9. And with Drew out tonight, there should be a little bit more ball handling to go around for White, which is a really good thing because he's third on the team in pick-and-roll scoring. And like I mentioned, the pick-and-roll defense for Toronto has not been very good as of late. His drives have been up a little bit as well, and he's averaging 6 minutes of touch time over the last 3 games. So pretty good role for Derek White and a little bit more upside than the ownership would show. I love the spot for Pritchard. 5.2K, it feels really good. This could be one of the spots. If it does blow out, they just let Pritchard run. And if you look at the game log against the Raptors this season, the 2 games that were blowouts, Pritchard had 40 and 32.5 DraftKings points in those 2 games. So I think he's a very strong high upside value option tonight. Horford, probably don't want to get too caught up with a value play this early in the slate, especially if he's more limited than normal. So I think that's going to be decently big injury news. If he misses, they might start Sam Hauser. They probably would start Sam Hauser actually, but then Tillman and Neemias Queta would be in the lineup or in the rotation. And then I think Torrey Craig might mix in for a little bit more of the on-ball defense on Scotty Barnes and RJ Barrett. I don't think he'd be necessarily a fantasy play, but just something to keep in mind for the rotation. Raptors side, pretty quick to break down. I don't really have too much interest. I think Scotty Barnes, the price is coming down, and probably for a good reason, has been very underwhelming this month, averaging less than 41 DraftKings points per game. Matchup is not good. He's losing a lot of usage to both RJ Barrett and Emmanuel Quickley, and the numbers show that he drops 4 percentage points while sharing the court from a usage standpoint with RJ Barrett and Emmanuel Quickley, and is barely over 1 fantasy point per minute. So just not a good role sharing the court with those 2 guys. Matchup-wise, it's much better for Barrett and Quickley either way because they are the 2 leading scorers in pick-and-roll situations for the Raptors this season. Price is really close together. I think the minutes are probably in favor of Quickley, but 7.2K I feel like is a lot better for RJ Barrett than it is for a 6.9K Emmanuel Quickley. So I do slightly lean Barrett if I'm choosing one Raptors piece, but I probably would be max 1 on the Raptors tonight, I think. Yeah, I think I'll be max 1.
Sorry, I was trying to make the rule. So as you were watching, you kind of saw what I did. Again, he said he would make a rule. I'm not going to – again, it's rules, add new rule, manual, use no more than 1. Then you click the edit players, and then he would select every single Raptor right here.
There's an easier way to do it, too, if you just hit team stacks, and then you could just you hit team stacks, and you could literally just X out everything from 2 up on Toronto.
So there you go. Look at that. Rio the Pro. So over here, if you go team stacks, players, like when you get to stack exposure, it's not great for like NBA because it's not a stacking sport like baseball. It'll show like 5-2-1, 4-3, NFL, 1-1 with the quarterback, 1-2 like with your receivers. This is a huge tool in stacking sports, makes it really easy. But yeah, Rio would have made it a lot easier. You go down to the 2 teams, you would go down to Toronto, you would or 2 stack, you'd unclick them at 2, 3, etc. Or you can make your rules again, as you saw on the Boston side when he was talking. It sounded like Rio liked a lot of Boston. He did say he'd make the rule max 1 Tatum Brown, so I threw that in here. And again, you don't need to agree with everything Rio says. Like if I was building 5,000 or playing 150, maybe I wouldn't force that rule. Saber does in their Saber score and contest sims they run the simulation hundreds of thousands of times, like actual like games, like how it would happen. They get you on the winning lineup in that simulation. So they do know like Jaylen Brown and Tatum negative correlate to like a little bit. If they have them in the lineup, they think it's fine. I do like making hard rules. If you have less teams, like 500, 150, if you're only playing 10 teams. So he did make that rule. It doesn't mean you have to. And I mainly bumped. He liked Pritchard. I'm averaging SHIPIT Nation and Sabersim's ownership 17. I said 20. Sounded like you liked White a little bit. I said at least with the field. You didn't like Horford much, so 28%. I put 16 max. You can like not do any min max, and you can just do percentages. Like I don't like Horford. Let's build 23 down to 20.2. Oops, not 2. 20.2 right here. I like Jaylen Brown. You can go 42.3. Like, there's a lot of different ways you can do it to get the guys you like. I use a little more min-max stuff. I think Rio does projections, minutes, etc. But that's little stuff we're talking when he was going through. I was doing some
If you sorry, I don't want to jump in really quickly, but if you click on Tatum, if you actually click on the name, you can see the play-by-play stuff, and then you scroll all the way to the bottom. It does kind of back up the claims of not wanting those guys together, because you see they have a negative 0.14 correlation. So naturally, you don't have to set the rule. I just like doing it just because I want my my whole lineup pool to be pretty leaned out. Like, I want it to make sense on like how I'm trying to build. But Sabersim will naturally get you less of those two guys together. And then that's just kind of with their play-by-play stuff. And then and some lineups that have those two guys together, you're probably getting some Toronto pieces on the other side, like a Quickly, because you can see that Tatum and Quickly do correlate positively. So just something to keep in mind, which is it's just the power of Sabersim. Like, that's why it's such a great optimizer.
For sure. And I like what you said. And that's why right from the beginning, many people, if you are on the core or the starter, 150 or 500 teams, that is really that is when I would absolutely go in and make that rule max one Tatum Brown. Just say you had like 5 of your 150. If you know you didn't want that, and 5 of your 150 teams you built were Tatum Brown, well, essentially you just made 145 teams because you know I don't want that. So again, if you're on the core, the starter, 500, it's more teams. Again, if you really want to narrow down, like Rio's saying, your pool and how like getting exactly what you want, you know for a fact you don't want Tatum and Brown in the same team. Just make that rule. 5,000 teams you build, you would not get one team with 5,000, 500, 150. And again, going through this, every team when you build your 150 set or 500 in this example, and I had min 20% Pritchard, it'll give you minimum 20% in your 500 teams of Peyton Pritchard. So that's the power it definitely has. And again, it did show. I'm glad you clicked on Tatum. It showed the negative correlation it has. If they still do end up in the lineup, like Rio said, it would make sense in that team, more than likely a Toronto guy to hit OT, upside, etc. in that. So let's keep it rolling, Rio. Next game on the slate, Cleveland Cavaliers taking on the Orlando Magic. Cavs 8-point favorites, 220 total. Darius Garland questionable in this one for the Orlando side. No new injury news there. Take it away. I will be doing background Saber stuff. You're on mute.
Yes, I am. It's been a bit of a struggle for Orlando getting healthier, having Franz and Paolo back. They're still kind of figuring things out. Their defense has been great all season long. It has been good, but I would say a lot of that is due to their slow pace of play. The numbers are going to look a lot better than they actually are. But they are the third worst offense in the league this season, so it is not good. I think that the Cleveland could run away with this game pretty quickly and pretty easily. They're just one of the best teams all around, 7th in defensive rating, 1st offensive rating, 2nd in net rating, and they're actually playing with a little bit more pace as of late. I would say if Garland were to be out, maybe there's a little bit more potential for the game to stay close, but I think that Cleveland is the betting side here if I were to choose one. Like, I think that they can win this game by double digits. There's really not many mismatches on either side here. Cavs do give up slightly more three-pointers. Magic can be worse in the pick and roll, but they've been actually pretty good in comparison to last season in the pick and roll. The Cavs do struggle a bit defensively against big wings, like athletic and highly talented wings. So I think Franz and Paolo are in okay spots, but Paolo is going to be guarded by Evan Mobley, which I think is a stay away. I think that he's an elite defender. I think he could really give Paolo some trouble there, but I think Franz is a pretty good matchup. Should have Max Strus on him to start, and then Isaac Okoro should mix in throughout the game. Isaac Okoro, and we talked about how bad he is as a fantasy player and offensively, but he's really good defensively. I think he does match it pretty well, but I do think that Franz does have the slight edge there. So I think Franz is the guy I would look to on Orlando if I were choosing anybody. Another rule I would probably set would be max one, Paolo and Franz, although they do kind of slightly correlate positively. So you could say if I have 2 of Franz and Paolo, at least 2, or you could even throw like Wendell Carter Jr. in there, then at least 1 of Donovan, Mobley, Allen, or Garland, because that way you're getting – you could probably throw Hunter in there as well, just the main rotation pieces. That way you're starting to get some positively correlated lineups that do make some sense. So I probably don't have to set that rule because we have seen them both hit in a pretty big way. But if I'm choosing one, I slightly lean Franz a little bit more than Paolo. And I would be max 1 of Wendell Carter Jr. and Goga Bitadze. So I'll slow down a little bit while you set those rules.
No, you're totally good. I'm kind of going slower so people can see it. Like, I'm listening. Like, if I go so fast, people are going to be like, what's going on? So you keep talking. People are listening. Again, your slate plan, everything's up, but you keep going, Rio.
Yeah, so it's been Wendell Carter Jr. that's getting more of the minutes between him and Goga, but Goga kind of came back to life last game against Washington. It was a great matchup. I don't want to overstate how well he played because everybody does well against Washington, but he's been really bad since coming back from the concussion, and the minutes have been cut down in a big way. That was, I think, a pretty good sign for him. I think that long term, he is the better option between him and Wendell Carter Jr., but right now it's going to be Wendell that's getting a bulk of those minutes. So I would be max one of those two guys, and I would X them out of my player pool because I think that they can get there, but it's a very tough matchup. The Cleveland side, I'm usually always going to be max 2 of the top 4 guys. You could make a rule to be max 1 of the bigs, max 1 of the guards, but I think it's easier just to be max 2 of the 4. And then the secondary guys don't really have too much interest right now, but as we know, if Darius Garland were to miss, it's going to make Ty Jerome a very, very good play. I mean, he didn't start last game. I think some people were worried about that with Isaac Okoro getting into the lineup, and he just went off in the fourth quarter. He's just such an elite per minute producer, always has the ball in his hands when he's on the court. They don't really love to bump up the minutes on Mitchell and Mobley and all these guys that like to keep them in like the low 30 range. And it's working for them. They're extremely healthy. They've been healthy all season long, and they're probably one of the front runners in the East, I would say. So, yeah, if Garland were to miss, I think it definitely is worth saving some spots to get onto Ty Jerome because I think he'd be a great play.
Good breakdown. It's not a game I really want too much exposure. Again, I did make those rules when we were talking Orlando, but it sounded like really for both these teams. Like if you had nobody in this game, you'd be fine. You're not jamming pieces. So again, you don't have to go. Sabersim is such a good optimizer where you don't need to go overboard if you don't have like really strong takes. It's just when you do have strong takes, make it known, and then you hope to get lucky in some other spots. But as you can see, again, I'm taking average from our SHIPIT Nation and Sabersim ownership. Some people, if you just are in the starter package, 150 teams, then again, you just will have the SHIPIT Nation stuff always preloaded. If you want to aggregate it, you can do that as well. There's multiple things you can do. So I'm going with the average. As you can see in this game, though, low ownership in the second game of the night.
It's pretty cool. You can do that with projections as well. I know a couple people mentioned blending the projections, and it's a pretty popular thing among people in the industry. So it's definitely it's cool to do. And the cool thing about Sabersim is you can edit so many things. I'm not even trying to be like a salesman. I truly think that it's like awesome, but you can like upload a bunch of different projections and you can average them out if you are into that type of thing.
Yep.
Yeah, so I think that's a really cool feature.
The upload button's right here. Upload. You can upload projections, ownership. Then when you have that, you go my projections, then you can go add weight, and then you can weight them all and do it right there. There's so many things. Another thing I wanted to say before we get to the next game, Jordan said, if just say you knew you did not want to have any players that projected for worse than 15 points. Very easy. Filters right here next to rules. Show players with my projection greater than 15.1. So boom, right there, that just got rid of every single person that was projected less than 15.1. So shout out to you, Jordan. Very, very good. Easy way tool, I think. If you don't want any bums or guys that project like they're bums, easy rule right there. That's a way to get off them. So shout out to you for that, Jordan. I hope everyone's liking it again. Give us a like, give us a subscribe. Helps us out a ton. And again, if you do want to join us plus Sabersim, absolutely no better deal out there. If you just want our price for content, $79, no optimizer. Shout out Wardo. He still wants to use his brain. Shout out to you, Wardo. Just plug in the Knicks every day. They'll get you a couple days of the month to be profitable. If you do want optimizer, though, if you already had grandfathered in Shiptimizer, you have the core package, allows you to build 150 teams. Late swap, as you can see, $30 more for an upgrade gets you 350 more teams. Contest flashback to go in there and study. We will be having stuff on our side. There's a lot of training tutorials on Sabersim, how to do things, so many different sports. We will be incorporating some of that as well in the coming months over here. So contest flashback, huge projections, ownership for sports we have and we don't have. And if you do want to try out the Sims, first 30 days, $297. Again, if you're playing a couple $100 a week, I think it's something I would definitely check out. If you're only playing $100 a month, probably not the best thing for you. I'd probably check the starter or the core package. Next game on the slate, Rio. Oh,
You just want to hit on that really quickly because I don't know if there was a little bit of.
That's what we're doing right now. Yep.
Yeah.
So Sabersim right here and SHIPIT Nation, if you click average, it'll take 50% SHIPIT, 50% Saber. Just say you wanted 80% SHIPIT, 20% Saber. That's when you'd go to the ad and you'd just say E. So you could do it that way. Average is taking the 50. Just say you wanted to average for my projection, but you just wanted SHIPIT Nation ownership. You can do it that way as well. So I hope that helps. All right, let's keep it rolling, Rio. Next game on the slate. San Antonio Spurs, 3-point underdogs to the New Orleans Pelicans. Big total in this one at 240.5. Injuries in this one. Nothing on the Spurs side and nothing on the Pelicans side. So, two healthy teams. Big boy total, though. And as you can see from ownership, if I sort it by ownership, that's also cool. You can sort by projection, by value, point per dollar, ownership, salary, whatever you want to do. But looking at ownership, this game by no means is going to be low owned. Looks like a little more ownership to the Pelicans than the Spurs. What are you doing in this one?
Yeah, I don't know if you've been keeping up with the salaries for the Spurs lately, but they've been all over the place since Wemby got ruled out. We had like the one night where everybody was underpriced, and then they like put Castle and Sochan up to like 7K. I think Chris Paul and Vassell were in like the low sixes. It's just they've been trying to figure out what to do with the pricing for San Antonio lately. But I mentioned it the last, I think it was the first game without Wemby where it was, Fox went off. Obviously he's going to have a huge role. I'll talk about that in a second, but they are kind of in limbo right now. They got to figure out what to do because they've lost 2 out of their first 3 games out of the break, and they're kind of on the edge of being a play-in team / lottery team. So I think that these next, maybe even tonight is like a telltale sign of what they're going to do moving forward. Because like I mentioned, I think that Castle eventually gets back in the starting lineup for Chris Paul, and there's a chance they could still release Chris Paul, I believe, before like the March 1st deadline. He could sign with another team, which I think would be the right thing to do for him. Wants to go play with a contender. So we just got to kind of keep an eye on what they're going to do, because I think that it makes sense to kind of integrate those young guys in a little bit more and get away from like the Chris Paul, Harrison Barnes, even Bismack Biyombo. Like just start playing Sandro, play Bassi when he's in, start mixing in like Blake Wesley, all those younger guys. But yeah, as it stands right now, expect him to play straight up, and it should be a good spot for a few of these guys, just because the Pelicans have been so bad. I believe they're bottom 2 in rim defense, 3-point defense, and transition defense. And the first 3 games without Wemby for the Spurs have not been good. They're dead last in rim defense, and also being bottom 9 pick and roll defense. Don't have those strong on-ball defenders in the lineup just yet, with Castle and Sochan coming off of the bench. But in the 3 games without Wemby, it's been a mixed result for De'Aaron Fox. He had topped out at 56.25 DK points, and then bottomed out at 31.75 against the same team. This is a rematch. They played 2 nights ago. I think a lot of that can be contributed to him having an outlier bad shooting night. Went 3 for 16 from the field, which doesn't happen very often. It's a really good matchup for him in a lot of different ways. Obviously, the rim defense been bad. He's a very drive-heavy guard. 3-point defense not good. Transition defense not good. He's second in the league in transition scoring this season. And over the last 3 games, he's averaging 28.5% usage rate, second in assists at 29.8%, third in rebounding rate, and then is leading the team with 6 minutes of touch time and 14.3 drives per game. So just a really, really good role for De'Aaron Fox. I think he's still slightly underpriced. Going to be a guy I continue to get overweight on when the matchup and role is as good as it is tonight. Dropping down from Fox, not a ton to like here. Sochan feels too overpriced, especially since he's not really starting and not getting the role that we would expect for him to have without Wemby. The numbers have been the best for Chris Paul of the secondary guys. The usage has been really good for Stephon Castle, but the minutes aren't really there. Chris Paul is leading the team in assist rate by a pretty wide margin, and he's been pretty solid from a per minute standpoint, 1.14 fantasy points per minute. I think 5.8K is a pretty reasonable price tag, assuming he's getting full minutes tonight. But the minutes have been like 25, 22. I know one of that game was a blowout. The other one, he just wasn't playing well. So we'll have to see. If he's at like 28, then I think he's a pretty solid play. But if he's closer to 25, it's closer to a fade for me. Keldon has been very, very good as of late. He's actually leading the team, just been a very efficient scorer, but on the ball, he's been very good, averaging 9.7 points per game off of drives. And the drives he doesn't have a lot. It's like 9 drives per game. So just shooting the ball very efficiently off of those drives. So I do have a lot of interest in Keldon. He's probably my second favorite play on the Spurs tonight. And then Bismack at 4.3K, probably the next best option. He did play 30 minutes last time, and I think a lot of that was due to the defensive assignment. I don't know if he was guarding Zion, but he does provide a little bit more rim protection, so they probably wanted him out there for those Zion minutes. So he's okay at 4.3K, but not something I really want to get too deep on because I think there's a little bit more downside than upside for him. And then I guess Sandro is a guy you can take a shot on with Bassie out. It's just you don't know if he's going to be a DMP or if he's going to play 22 minutes. If he does play 22 minutes, he's probably paying off the price tag in a decently big way. So I would keep him in the player pool. Probably would be max 1 of Bismack and Sandro. And then usually just max 2 of probably everybody else. I don't think that I want 3 of all the guys between Keldon and Fox tonight. Maybe you have thoughts on that if you think 3 are okay.
Say that again. Sorry. If you do make a rule, like no one below 15 points, like you can't even get Sandro in here. So
yeah.
If you do want that, like again, we don't have to make this hard rule by any means. I was just showing it more for Jordan, but that is something that I did just learn. So I actually look at that. That's the cheat code. So you make the rule, then you unclick it, and then you can click in Sandro. Look at that. You learn something new every day. What was your rule question?
Oh, I was just wondering if you think that having 3 of like the Keldon to Fox guys would be too much, or if you think 2 is probably the sweet spot. Because I think 2 is probably where I want to be.
Yeah, probably 2. It's such a high total game if you wanted to just game stack it more so. Like what I like to look at right here, ownership and value. You can see only 2 guys projecting over like 5 point per dollar. That's like 5x. It's like the general median that people use. And then only 2 projected for over 10% ownership. It feels like you're kind of spreading yourself thin. I guess it'd be Fox, Paul, one of those guys. But how much do you love Fox and Paul together? Long story short, I think 2 is probably good. And again, when you were talking, you like Keldon a decent bit. We have projected 4.5%. I just put it at 8. Like you get 8%. By no means is that. And you can like max it at 15. 3x would be the max I want. I want about 2x. Little things like that. You love Fox today? 30%, man. Like I think Fox is very underpriced too. Bismack, you're fine with some, but you didn't want to go overboard. I said a max. So again, probably people are catching on when you're talking. I'm going through stuff, but all I'm doing is really listening to Rio. Again, I have a slate plan right up here on my other screen. Rio's not always on shows. We do like MMA shows and stuff. Some things can change the next day. Little things. Always have the slate plan to stone up as well. Right now we're sharing Saber. Rio puts in so much work. I'm not going to show the slate plan, but for all the sports, just blend your thoughts, the content, DraftKings props, if you want to go that way, and then just mold it into your own, is what I'm doing basically when Rio's talking. There's no right way, wrong way, but this is not only just clicking 2 buttons and optimizer, which you're better off doing that than most other things. Saber will give you competitive lineups, but to make it even better, going into the needles, finding your process, making it your own is really how you do it. So I think 2 is a sweet spot to make that question and answer really long sum down.
Yeah, then switching over to the Pelican side, I think Zion is in a good spot again here. It's just, I don't know, man. It's so frustrating not seeing him play more than 30 minutes in a game this season. There's always all this talk about him being like in the best shape he's been. He's the leanest he's been since he came into the league, I believe, at 260.
Yeah, isn't that nuts though? The leanest is 260.
Yeah. I mean, he's only like 6'5", too. Like people forget that he's not like a center. He's still pretty like short, and not like short by NBA terms, especially for being a power forward / center.
For being 260.
Yeah, like it's just crazy. But I mean, it's nice to see that he's taking his health more seriously because obviously he's amazing when he plays. But his role is just so elite when he's on the court. 34.3% usage rate, 29% assist percentage, averaging 1.5 fantasy points per minute. Really good matchup with the Spurs being dead last in rim defense without Wemby. So the scoring should come with ease. Coming in with a decent amount of ownership, I think that it's more likely that he's going to get you like 45 to 47 than get you like 60 right now, just because he's not playing those minutes. But that could even be that could be viable tonight if everything else doesn't shake out well, which is kind of I don't know, maybe. That's kind of what I was getting at with like the Paulo and Franz stuff, because they're priced right there. It's like if you play both of Paulo and Franz, then you are missing out on Zion or Trey Murphy. More than likely, I mean, you could probably make all 3 of those guys work. But that's kind of what I get at when I'm saying like making those min or max 1 rules for the studs up top. But yeah, I think Zion is obviously in a really good spot. So I don't really have a ton of negative things to say about him other than the minutes just are probably never going to be there this season. Trey Murphy, next guy at 8.1K, huge price tag for him, but definitely warranted. He was not good last time out, only put up 31.25 DK points, but in a pretty large sample, 140 minutes, his usage and assist numbers spike with all these guys off the court with like the DeJounte, Ingram, Bruce Brown, Kelly O, all those guys. And I don't know. Sorry, let me mute up for a second.
All right. Yeah, you're good. Again, when Rio was talking, I put the Zion, like, I don't think 44 or 45 is really enough. It kind of did sound like Rio leans. That's probably where he's going to be. He thinks that's more likely than like the 60 piece. So I put 10%. Again, if you don't have a strong lean though, maybe it just goes like max 20%. Or max 18. If you get them around the field, you're fine, but you know for sure you don't want to take a big stand overweight. And if you end up getting 4%, you'd be fine with that as well. So like Rio sounds a little indifferent. And again, you can always just not do anything. And then when you do build, when you end up building your 500 teams, and again, if you're playing 50 or 40 or whatever it is, you can then see how many of, like, I had 33% Zion. We'll bump that down in the next screen to 18%. There's another min-max section when you can apply more changes, X people out, etc. Handpick lineups and scroll through. Are you good now, Rio?
Yeah, I'm good now. So I just had some background noise. But getting back to Murphy, from a per minute standpoint, been very good with all those guys off the court. And he's the most likely guy on this team to play in between like 36 to 40 minutes. I think the matchup, very good. His drives have been way up from a per game standpoint this month, averaging 12 per game. So he's become more of like the on-ball guy, whereas in the couple seasons prior, he's been more of like the off-ball, three-point catch-and-shoot guy. So I think they have pretty big plans for him moving forward, just trying to get him a bigger offensive workload. So I do like Murphy. And then I would probably just be max 2 of the Zion, Murphy, McCollum, because I don't see all 3 of them getting there. And I don't really have too much interest in CJ. But then dropping down, I think Jose Alvarado, he's starting to play a lot better as of late. 35 DK points in 3 of his last 5 games. 5.5K, reasonable price tag, really good matchup. So I do like Jose Alvarado a good bit here. And then Kelly Olynyk put up a double-double last time out, 25 minutes. Always been a pretty solid per-minute producer wherever he's gone, really. And then the minutes have been pretty good in those 2 games that he started, 24 and 25. Probably where he's going to be capped out. Maybe he gets like 26, 27, but he was playing really good, and they still pulled him out at the end of the game. But yeah, I think both those guys, Alvarado and Olynyk, are pretty solid values, and I do like Zion and Trey a good bit.
I like it. You can see, and again, ownership. You can see Kelly, 33.85%. If I unclick everything, the highest on the slate, that would be second on the slate. So that is something to note. What I also like, minutes right here on Sabersim. Average projected minutes played. So when Rio's talking, he thinks like 25, 20, whatever. You can see that here, and that is a way. If you want to boost projections down a little bit, and you see the minutes played right here, and you think, oh, he's only playing 24 today, then you can bump that projection down a little bit because, of course, less minutes would be a less projection if you don't want to do the min-max stuff like that. There's a million different ways you can do your own thing. I'm trying to show multiple. Right now, min-max, again, I mess with that more. If you think Kelly Olynyk's 40%, then put him at 40%, and that will change things. So little stuff like that. Again, it's an optimizer. You yourself can make it even better and more powerful. But if you only have 5 minutes and you go in there, you check Rio's core, and you say like min 40% of all Rio's 5 core plays, then you click build lineups, you get your 150, you put in 20, you do a couple min uniques because you want to diversify more. You got Rio's core, you made sure you're overweight on them, use Sabersim as a product, you diversified a little more your portfolio, just like that. That's how I do it. That's why I like MME stuff. You can compare your percentages to the field and build a whole portfolio rather than, I don't love just building one team. You either are completely $0, you can win it all. I myself have found better success in MME. Some people do like one team, but I still think you can find a lot of value in building 150 teams on Saber, doing your own stuff like this, and then handpicking which team maybe seems best. But
yep.
We'll keep it rolling. The Milwaukee Bucks and the Houston Rockets. The Bucks are 3.5-point underdogs, 227 total in this one. No injuries on the Milwaukee side. Bobby suspended, Pat Con's hurt. Houston, definitely not the same, though. Fred VanVleet Dillon Brooks, and Jayshawn Tate are all questionable. All right, we haven't seen Fred VanVleet forever. Do you have any clue on, February 1st was the last time we've seen him. Any thoughts on those Q tags, especially the Fred Q tag? Again, if I look at ownership, and that's what I'm sorting it by, hardly anything in this game. So, and again, you sort by value, only one guy projected for 5x his price, and that is Sengun. So, doesn't look like much ownership in this one. What are you doing?
Yeah, I actually think there's a little bit more fantasy appeal in this game than projections are showing right now, and I'll dive into that in a second. But in terms of the injury stuff for Houston, both Jayshawn Tate and Fred VanVleet practiced yesterday. So it sounds like one of, if not both of them, do play tonight. But I think they are on a back-to-back. I forget who their opponent is tomorrow, but I think they are playing a Western Conference team. So it might make more sense to sit Fred tonight and play him tomorrow. As far as Dillon Brooks goes, I'm not sure. The illness is never a good thing. He played last time against Utah. So there's a chance that he misses with the illness tag that's been kind of running around the league. Some guys miss like 2 weeks at a time. So we'll have to see how that shakes out. But I still don't think that there's really enough value that would open up if those guys were to miss, because they still have Tari Eason. They have Jabari Smith. Like, those guys would look better, but you're still like Sengun, 8.5K is up there. Amon Thompson's way up there. Jalen Green is not cheap either. So it's not like these guys go from being average plays to great plays. Like, they probably just become slightly better is what I would say. But defensively, both these teams are kind of struggling right now. 13th and 14th in defensive rating. Both of them are allowing a lot more rim points, which is odd when you consider that these were two of the better rim protecting teams in the league. I think getting Jabari back will help a lot, and then having Tari out there healthier would help a lot as well. But the Bucks, I don't know how much of that is due to not having Giannis or just having tired legs, because Brook Lopez, he's a really good rim protector, but he's been playing a ton of minutes this season, and he's not young. I think Doc Rivers was saying like he's the guy that needed the All-Star break the most going into it. And then there was a couple clips going around of him defending the Wizards, I think, where he just it was the Heat, where he basically just let Tyler Hero walk to the basket and score on him. So I don't know if he's just getting old and just not carrying as much in defense, but their rim defense has not been good. On top of that, Houston does have the second worst pick and roll defense, and Milwaukee is bottom 8. So it's a pretty decent spot, I would say, for some of these guys. On the Milwaukee side, Giannis at 11K is a good price tag, assuming he's getting back to full minutes. He did play 32 minutes last time out, looked more like himself against Miami, put up 23, 16, and 7, 58 DK points. Kind of think this is a good spot to buy low on Giannis if he's going to get back to full. I do think this is probably a spot where he gets closer to 34, 35 tonight. And if he does, pretty good chance he smashes that price tag with how bad the Houston rim defense has been. So I have interest in Giannis, but I also have interest in Dame a little bit too at 9.3K. He's fourth in the league in pick and roll scoring. Rockets are allowing the second most pick and roll points per game. He was limited in his first game post All-Star break, only played 32, 33 minutes, which is, a pretty crazy limit, and then plays 38 next time out. So he's probably back to full minutes right now. And he was on fire coming into the All-Star break. So I think he's pretty solid. Outside of that, don't have much interest. I remember I saw somebody in chat mention Brook Lopez. I think he's a decent buy low option. He's been scoring really well lately, and he had a really good game against Houston the first time they played. I think he was 27 and 10, something like that, 40 DraftKings points. So you could probably keep him in your player pool. Easy to get above the field on him if he's going to be 1% to 2%. You can get 3% to 4% if you're playing, or even just one lineup in 20 max is above the field. And then 2 or 3 in 150 should be enough. But I don't have a strong take there. I think 5.7K is a pretty expensive tag for him with Kuzma, Dame, and Giannis all fully healthy. On the Houston side, I think Sengun 8.5K is pretty interesting. Mentioned the struggles with the Bucks around the rim. I think he's going to have a decently big advantage offensively on Brook Lopez if he is regressing, as the numbers have shown, with the Bucks allowing the 9th most rim points per game this month. Pretty good price tag, and I actually think getting Fred VanVleet back is better for him. I was watching some of the Ime Udoka press conferences where they're saying to get Sengun involved on offense without VanVleet is really tough because you have to run plays for him, whereas it just comes a lot more naturally with Fred VanVleet, and it's obvious they got him for a reason. He's a true point guard, so I think that would actually help him a lot. Jalen Green, a really good matchup. Bucks are awful against guards now, especially now that they've pretty much kicked Andre Jackson Jr. out of the rotation. They don't really have a lot of good on-ball defenders. They're bottom 7 in DVP versus shooting guards this season. Jalen Green coming off of 2 very strong outings, put up 35 and 25 points, 51.75 and 47.75 DK points in those 2 games. So he's probably my favorite option. Him and Sengun, I would say, are 1A, 1B. Don't really have interest in Amen at 8.4K. That's probably it. I think it's just Amen and Jalen Green, and then I like those spend ups on the Bucks.
Sengun and Jalen Green, no Amen. That is what he meant. There's something I was going to add. I don't know.
Yeah, I shouted you out, UB Choice. I didn't know what the name was. I said you mentioned him. I wasn't just copying.
You're his thunder, bro. What are you doing?
I know.
I did set, again, when Rio was talking, I said max Giannis Dame. I just usually do that. Looking at it, he thought Giannis was good for his price. You see Sabersim. He thinks Giannis could play 3 more minutes, 4.5%, like double the field almost. He said, Brooke, if you got 3%, you'd be good. Dame, 3% you liked. They're projecting at 1%. So people probably know the drill by now. We're going to continue. Phoenix Suns and the Memphis Grizzlies. Memphis, pretty big favorites in this one, sitting at 7.5. Big boy total, 245.5. Injuries on this one, nothing for the Phoenix. Actually, Monty Morris is questionable. I'm not sure that means anything. And I do not see anything on the Memphis side. Oh, what I was going to say, I'm all over the place, but I don't know if I saw highlights of Fred VanVleet in the against the Warriors.
Yeah, I saw that too.
Dude, he was a stud at Wichita State. Like, He could always play, but I did not realize how many big time shots like he hit in just insane moments. A guy that what made me think is I chirp this dude all the time for DFS. Like, great point, like point guard, all that, sure. Just always say no upside. I never play him. Man, he definitely was doing his thing back in the day. But all right, back to this game. No injuries on the Memphis side. Pretty much nothing on the Phoenix side. Again, sorting by ownership. Looks like a lot of ownership in this one, Rio. Both sides, mainly the Memphis side. Phoenix getting some ownership too. And man, Ja all the way down at 8.1K. Vince Williams looks like one of the most popular values on the slate, just popular players, period. We and Saber are average, has 40%, which would be the highest on the slate. So take this game away, a lot to talk about.
Yeah, it's not surprising that there's a lot of ownership in this game. I am kind of surprised that people are confident in that confident in the Memphis side, because as we know, they've been able to run out a very deep rotation. So this is kind of a spot where I think rule setting comes into play, because there are a lot of guys that like highly negatively correlate on this team. But yeah, I was listening to a podcast today, just like a quick breakdown of like the Western Conference, and it was talking about the Suns. They're kind of in like a weird spot as well with San Antonio, where I don't know, they don't really have a choice but to play these guys a lot of minutes because they're kind of all in right now. But they're probably not making the playoffs. Like, there's no way unless they just go on a crazy stretch. But the numbers have actually been pretty decent for the Booker, Durant, and Beal minutes. Like, their offensive rating shoots way up, which is kind of you would expect with having 3 talented scorers like that. But their like net rating and all that stuff has actually been pretty decent with those guys. There's just not a large sample because the last 2 years, like anytime they get healthy, somebody gets injured. So it's just tough to know what the ceiling could have been with this team. But I don't think that we ever will, because it sounds like KD will be gone after the season. I don't know if you saw like the stuff on Twitter. Obviously, Kevin Durant is like very active on Twitter, and he was somebody like he said, whenever Book does good, they never mention me, or like something along those lines.
No, I didn't see. I play poker with like his best friend once in a while. There's something else. I chirp him. I chirp his buddy about Giannis sometimes. He was telling me he was trying to bet me that Durant was taller than Giannis, and then he was down there saying that like KD was just as grown as Giannis. I'm like, quit playing. They're funny dudes though. Love
like,
to
from
gamble.
a muscular standpoint, there's no way.
Yeah, exactly. He was pretty much he just rides them. But speaking of big gamblers, DC guys. But KD, did you see that video about the guy with the shoes come up to KD? They flipped for $3,000.
No, I didn't see that.
KD's shoes off his feet. Yeah, KD won, but that was another funny thing. He's gonna be gone though.
Yeah, for sure. Also, another weird thing is like I don't get you spent such high draft capital on Ryan Dunn, who was kind of, I guess like I didn't really pay too much attention coming into the draft outside of like some of the top picks, but there was the profile on him was like he's one of the best defensive prospects to come into the draft. I don't know if they said ever or like of recent memory. And he's just like, the Suns are so bad on defense right now, and they're just not finding minutes for him. They're playing Bol over him, which is just like insane. As much as like we like Bol for DFS, but like their defense is just so bad right now. But like, I guess piggybacking off that, I want to get into this game quickly. But yeah, they're bottom 2 in defensive rating this month. Memphis is kind of down there as well. They were like top 6 or something on the season, but this month they're 15th. Pretty clear areas to attack on both sides. The Suns' on-ball defense against point guards just been terrible. 7th worst in pick-and-roll defense. I would imagine if you extrapolate those numbers to this month, it's probably like dead last or bottom 2. Their transition defense is bottom 6 as well, going up against the best transition offense in the league in the Memphis Grizzlies. 3-point defense not good. For the Grizzlies, they're giving up 3-point defense. Their 3-point defense has not been great either. A lot of catch and shoot stuff, but their transition defense has been really bad. Bottom 3 in the league. They play very fast paced, so there should be a lot of points scored in this game on both sides. And the last time these teams faced off, it was a pretty solid game as well. Kevin Durant and Booker, I think you're going to want a good amount of them in both of your lineups, or in a lot of your lineups. Probably another situation you want to be max 1 of those 2 guys. I would be, or you could just say like max 2 of Booker, Durant, and Bradley Beal. I think that probably makes a little bit more sense. But KD had the bigger game between the two, 55 against the Grizzlies last time out. Booker only put up 32. I think Booker picked up an injury in that game and that held him out for the next game. And Booker was slightly better than KD last time out, 55 DK points versus Durant's 37. I think the matchup slightly leans in favor of Booker than it does for KD, with Jaren Jackson on Durant, and then Booker should have, Jalen Wells and then some Vince Williams on him, which are both really good defenders as well. But I think Jaren is probably profiles a little bit better defensively against Durant. But I have interest in both those guys a lot. I think that somebody is going to put up a pretty nice score here at these price tags. Bradley Beal has been playing really good as of late. Since coming back from the injury, he's averaging 36 DraftKings points per game this month. He's started each of the last 2 games, put up 37 and 42 DK points, been playing really well on offense, not that great on defense. But he probably has the best matchup between the starters. Should see a lot of Bane or John Moran on him, which I think is really good. And I think that he's probably the best point per dollar play on the Suns tonight, best matchup, best price tag. So I like Beal more than Durant and Booker right now. The next, like the secondary guys, I don't really want to be overweight on any of them because I think Royce is okay at 4.8K. He's been terrible shooting the ball as of late. Was good in the first time the last time these teams faced off a couple games ago, but went 4 for 12 from the field. But he's gone 1 for 11 from 3 over his last 2 games, just gone ice cold. Should have a lot of open looks. The Grizzlies do like to trap a ton, so that leans to the secondary guys having pretty big games. So I think that he'd be okay. They did run a lot of small ball 5 last time with him out there with Bol. So maybe they do that again. I think this game does have the chance to play small. So Royce would be okay, but I don't think that I really want to play like Nick Richards or Grayson or anybody else. On the Memphis side, I have interest in all 3 of Ja, Bane, and Jaren Jackson. I think they're all in very good matchups. I think Ja or Bane probably has the best one. Suns allowing 7th most pick and roll points per game. Ja and the 6th most transition points. Ja is first in the team in pick and roll scoring, 6th in the league in transition points per game. Suns are bottom 4 DVP versus point guards this season. Just been a really good spot to attack. The minutes have been slightly increasing for Ja in comparison to his season averages. He's had like 29 minutes per game this season, been above 33 in 4 of his last 5 games. So pretty good price tag and matchup for Ja. Jaren has run into a lot of foul trouble last couple games. That happens when you're guarding Evan Mobley and Paolo Banchero. But Kevin Durant, not really the best foul drawer, so I think that he's in a decent spot with how bad the Suns' rim defense and transition defense has been. And then Bane, from a minutes played standpoint, he is the most consistent player on Memphis. Been right around 34, 36 every game this month, basically. And the matchup is equally as good for him as it is for Ja. He's 1K cheaper, going to play more minutes. 2nd on the team in pick and roll scoring, 12th in the league in transition scoring, so really good spot for him. And then Santi and Edey, I think, are 2 guys that negatively correlate. They've been closing with Santi over Edey as of late, 29, 31 minutes over his last 2 games. And the matchup is one that could play a little bit smaller, so the matchup is better, or with that point considered, it is slightly better for Santi. But Edey, I think, could still put up a decent score in the minutes that he does play. The Suns have been one of the worst rebounding teams in the league. I highlighted that the last time these teams faced off. He was pretty close to paying off his tag, put up 9 boards and 4 points. So if he somehow sees more than like the 20 to 22 he normally would, if it's like 25 tonight, then I think he's got a decent amount of upside. We've seen him put up like 50 points with just a ton of rebounds. And this would be the spot to attack. And then assuming no value opened, or what I wrote was assuming no value opened up later, is that Vince Williams would look like a good value option. But now I think with the Charlotte stuff, I would probably want to get away from him because I just don't think he's playing more than 20 minutes tonight.
I like that. Good shout on that. And again, our ownership update, Saber ownership update. So this won't be 40%. This was before the LaMelo news. You want to touch on this quick? And again, like just because Rio does, again, if you had 5,000 lineups in the contest sims, like you're able to build 5,000. I don't think you need to be nearly as strict about stuff like that. Whereas if you have 150 teams on the normal plan right now, or even 500 teams with the starter plan, that is when I would, like if Rio's like, I don't want him, I would not play him. Or you yourself is like, I am not playing Desmond Bane today. I definitely would X them out. The less teams you're able to build, but Rio, for yourself, you can speak on this.
So when it's kind of worded weird, it said when you don't want to play. Oh, when I don't want to play X player. Okay.
You don't want Bane today. Are you going to hit the X button right here and go like this so you cannot get any? Or are you going to allow him to trickle into things because, yeah, that's what he's asking at the end of the day. You play so many teams like.
Yeah.
But when I say we don't like some people on the show, if you're playing 150 teams, I don't think it's necessarily right, even if you don't like them, to actually override everything. I think you just kind of want to narrow it. You don't exit at the end of the day, do you? You're not unclicking Bane.
Yeah, no. I don't exit because at the end of the day, like projections and Sabersim and all these other high-end optimizers are smarter than I am. So I don't want to like we say like build or group
Lock
myself out of the
out.
nuts. Yeah, like yeah. I don't want to do that. Like if somebody is landing in like 5% of the builds and I really don't like them, I would probably just keep them because I'm okay getting a handful of shares. But yeah, usually if I say like I don't want to play X player, it's just not somebody I'm looking to take a huge stand on in terms of getting them a lot of them in my lineups.
Because most people we do recognize play a lot less than 150 teams, and if that is you. Like I would, again, be unclicking those. If you only can make 150 teams or 500, I personally would uncheck them if you know for sure you don't want them, or at least set a max exposure so that you're not building the team getting 40% Desmond Bane when you wanted 0, and then you're only looking at 60% of the lineups you could make because one guy you for sure didn't want are in a handful of them. So hope that helps. All right, let's keep it rolling. Shout out to you, Colin. Appreciate you hanging out. Appreciate everyone hanging out. Again, all we ask for, like button, subscribe button. It helps us out a ton. And again, if you are just joining us, biggest partnership we've had, Sabersim, the best optimizer, with SHIPIT Nation, the best content. I haven't even talked about the community though, Rio. Discord, second to none. So many people talking constantly throughout the day. NBA chat, always on fire. Shout out Wardo, Paraby, Sean Sullivan, Jonathan, many guys in there. And again, MMA, of course, PGA. We do have like tennis, little things like that. For tennis, if you have this starter pack, Pickett's always dropping his tennis thoughts in there. Shout out to Smarty for college basketball. Really sharp. If you do play sports like that, I think you for sure want the starter pack. Again, only $30 extra. You do then get Sabersim's projections and ownership, even for those tennis sports and stuff we don't offer. And again, Pickett drops his notes in there. Smarty drops his cores in college basketball. Then you can use that knowledge, put some some groups, whatever you want to do with the content, with the Saber projections ownership. Again, we don't offer the sport, but you took knowledge in the Discord, you use Sabersim, and you combine the two, it's an unbeatable partnership. So again, Discord, absolutely huge for us. And again, you can see all the prices right there. 2 games left. Ooh, that was the wrong button. 2 games left on the slate. We have a 2-hour window between those first 5 and these next 2. And this one, the Golden State Warriors coming in as monster favorites, 17.5 points over the Charlotte Hornets without LaMelo Ball. 217.5 total. Not only LaMelo's out, Daquan Jeffries is out, Tajani Saloon is out, and then going to the other side, Trace Jackson Davis is questionable. I probably butchered that name, which might be why you're laughing. What are we doing with 17.5 point favorites for the Warriors?
I like that. Tajani. I like that name.
I'm looking at it, and I was trying to do my best.
I honestly don't even know how to pronounce it either, but I know for a fact I wasn't right.
Fair enough.
Yeah, when I wrote up this game earlier, was assuming somebody was going to sit here. Obviously, got the news with LaMelo, Salon, and Daquan Jeffries all out, so that should tighten things up a little bit. I so let me just hit on the Warriors really quick because they've been playing really good and they're looking like they're going to be fully healthy with Kuminga. It sounds like he'll be back the next game or the one after that. Since Butler has been traded over, they're 5-1 over their last six games, ranking 6th in offense, 4th in defense. Just been playing really good. And then the Hornets, they were playing good defense all season long. But kind of mentioned it. I think that was kind of smoke and mirrors. Like their defense is not very good. They just don't have the talent, and it's showing now. They've fallen to bottom 8 in defense this month. 3-point defense has been failing them. Bottom 7 there, but I don't think the rim defense is very good. While Mark Williams is on the court. And then with LaMelo out, I'll hit on the Miles Bridges stuff quickly because the role gets really, really good with him. And I believe it was the game against the Nuggets where he went off. Like I think it was maybe the best game he's ever had in his career. But the numbers back it up. He's a 32% usage rate, 16% assist percentage, 12% rebounding rate. So that's like a guy that's close to getting a triple-double on a nightly basis. 1.3 fantasy points per minute, can play a ton of minutes. And we've seen in the games where they're huge underdogs, if they're capable of keeping the game close, it's probably Bridges being the guy that you need, which is why I don't think you're going to get to a lot of him just at the price and the projection. But I would say if you're playing him, you probably want to consider some Warriors pieces on the comebacks. I would personally, I'd probably be setting a rule if I have Bridges or even Mark Williams. I think those are two guys that are capable of keeping the game close and putting up big scores at their price tags. Then I would probably want one of like the Steph, Jimmy, Draymond, Pods. I probably cut it off there. That's how I would play with the Bridges stuff. I'm not taking a stand on Bridges because I don't think that they're going to be able to hang around. But if those lineups if I do get lineups with Bridges, I would expect them to have some Warriors pieces, but not vice versa. I think you can definitely play those Warriors guys without any Charlotte guys. But dropping down with Mark Williams in, probably going to take those backup centers out of play. Nurkic, I don't know, maybe I saw somebody mention him, like maybe he's cheap enough to consider. I don't think so. I don't think I want to go there. I don't really think I want to get to Nick Smith or Josh Green or even Elf. Like Elf has been terrible in the minutes that he's been playing and starting without Steph Curry. But I do got to shout out my guy Damian Baugh because I've been looking for a chance to play him. I think it was last Wednesday when we had the showdown slate. I was talking him up a bunch, and then he ends up getting ruled out. But he's been pretty good in a small sample in the NBA. Only played 57 minutes this season. Does have a pretty solid 28% assist percentage. The floor has been very good with 3 assists in each of those games. He looks like he adds a little bit of everything. Pretty good shooter. He has 20.5, 27, and 28.75 DK points. So if ownership is going to Elf, I'm going to be taking a pretty big stand on Damian Baugh. Would be max one of those two guys. I think they just want to get a look at him and see what he's got because he's a rookie. And somebody in chat could tell me where he came from. I think it was TCU maybe. But either way, he looks like he's pretty solid. So I like Damian Baugh and Miles Bridges the best if I'm getting to any of these Charlotte pieces. Memphis. Okay, there we go. Yeah, Memphis always has some dogs. Yep, D Rose. They had a lot of guys come into the league recently. That is Bain's TCU, right?
Yeah, TCU.
They've had some really good guys come out of Memphis.
I'll look for you when you keep talking.
Yeah, so the Warriors side, Steph been playing really well alongside Jimmy Butler. The efficiency has gone way up, making at least 3 threes in each of the games with Jimmy Butler in the lineup, scoring 30 real points in half of those games. And with his Hornets struggling on defense, especially in the three-point department, should line up to be a pretty solid game for Steph. The price gone way up, 8.8K, I think is probably his max I want to be paying for him. So I don't think I'll get to too much, but matchup-wise, it's very good for him. Jimmy's fantasy production has come back down to earth after he started out scorching hot. He's coming over to Golden State. Only has failed the top 37 DK points in each of his last 3 games. But one of his best games of the season came against Charlotte earlier this year where he's playing with Miami, put up 54 DK points there. So it should be a good matchup for both of those guys. I don't really think I want to get to Draymond. I think Pods and Moody are both in good spots here as well. Steve Kerr seems committed for now to playing this starting line that they have out there with Pods, Moody, Draymond, Jimmy, and Steph. I think I prefer Pods a little bit more because I think that the ceiling is a little bit better. He's been above 29 DK points in 5 of his last 6 games, scored 17 in 3 straight games. And then Moody, I mean, he's taking a lot of threes right now, so the matchup is good for him. But yeah, I don't know. The prices are coming up on the Warriors right now. They're playing really good, but this game is likely going to be a big blowout. So I don't think that I want my night predicated on this big of a blowout.
Rio, you're too sharp. He also played for TCU.
Oh, here we go.
He played for both.
Nice.
As far as some of the Memphis guys as of late, Ja, Brandon Clark, Bane, GG Jacks. Wait, Bane was TCU and Memphis too?
Oh, I wonder what the connection is there.
There's no way. I said Memphis College, and they're just reading off the Memphis Grizzlies, so that's totally wrong. I even said college. I don't know. I'd have to look at. If anyone in chat knows some Memphis College, University of Memphis draft picks as of late, but he played at both, so there you go. You were half right.
Did you see?
After looking it up,
have you seen how Jimmy Butler unlocks white basketball players?
No.
Yeah, it's apparently there's a thing that white basketball players get a ton of confidence playing alongside Jimmy Butler's. Maybe why Tyler Hero's so good now.
Well, Hero thought he was black since he was like 10 years old. Grew up in the so I didn't know if that's why they bonded so much. I don't know if they both couldn't swim. They had some funny. Jalen Duren, that's
dog.
Yeah. Yeah, Jimmy and Hero used to like each other, man. It used to be a lot of fun having them go. I don't know if they don't like each other anymore, but
yeah.
Jimmy couldn't like anyone in the locker room. But yeah, they had some funny moments. All right, last game of the slate, Rio, 10 p.m. Eastern. Los Angeles Lakers and Luka Doncic take on the Dallas Mavericks. This one should be a bunch of fun. 9-point favorites are the Lakers. 231 total in this one. Injuries on the Dallas side. PJ's questionable. Dwight Powell's questionable. AD, unfortunately, not playing. That'd be really cool to see. Lakers side, nothing. And their standpoint, looking at ownership, I mean, there's no way this Luka's ownership's right. Like,
no.
People are going to play Luka for sure.
Yeah.
And again, this is where I'd go. Like, yeah, 10%, they've even had less. Like, let's go 26%. Like, this is where I'd be adjusting. And just because if you think it's 10% and you go min exposure 15 and he comes in 30, like, you didn't get the job. You didn't do what you wanted to do. So manually bumping it like that is one way. I don't know what you're laughing at. Right?
Richard had a funny comment, pigmentation analysis.
Man, I mean, Luka by far is probably one of the best plays on the slate. If you want to go in depth with anything about him, that makes all these other Lakers pretty hard for me to get, in my opinion. But yeah, I'll let you take this game away. Last game of the slate. Not really waiting on like too much injury news. We got the LaMelo stuff. So like if you want guys in this game, you can play guys in this game. I don't think it's a slate where a bunch of injury news in the later games, people are debating, should we jam early? Should we jam late? I think it's just a normal slate pretty much now that we got the LaMelo news, which was big. But yeah, what are you doing in this one?
Yeah, kind of a lot to talk about here. But firstly, it's kind of just funny how like Nico Harrison, his whole thing for trading Luka was to get better on defense. I don't want to say that the Mavs got worse on defense. Obviously, the short-term stuff has been really bad. Like their rim defense and rebounding has been really, really bad. But I do think long-term, they should be really, really good defensively. Like once/if they ever get a fully healthy team with like PJ and AD and Gafford and Lively, they should be pretty strong defensively. So I want to hear your thoughts on that.
100%. I think if AD, like in the short term, and again, I don't think if you just had like 2 years and AD was healthy all those games, I don't think by any means it was like a complete robbery. Like, again, however it made it to be, and I agree because there is 10 years from now, Luka could very well still be one of the best. AD's probably retired by then. AD's already hurt so much. But if AD was healthy all these games, like I think they'd be a phenomenal team. I think, to be honest, even this year, they would maybe have a better chance to win it all than if they had Luka. I don't know if that's a hot take or not. The problem is AD's always hurt, but I mean, we saw in that first game, and Gafford's a beast down there. AD's a beast when he plays down there. PJ, like they would have been big. They would have been long. They have like Kyrie in the guard. So I know I took that question a lot of ways, but more of the story, I think they would be great if AD was healthy, and they will be next year when they are fully healthy down in the paint for sure.
Yeah, 100%. I agree with you.
Hey, what about you for this? Not so much a hot take, but a bad one, which I can totally take hot and bad takes. But if AD was fully healthy like this year or next year, do you think it was still a complete – again, we're playing just to win the championship. Screw anything else in the future. which is not how you should do it. But do you still think like they got highway robbed? Luka's that much better than AD in that team to win now?
Yeah, I do. I just don't think that you never trade away like those types of players are so rare to come by. Like you just can't. I don't care how much better on paper it makes your team defensively and all that. You can't. You got to just find ways to build around him and not get rid of him. But yeah, it's just fun. I want to bring that up because like looking at the Lakers numbers since the trade, they've been one of the best teams on both ends of the court. They're third in defense this month, seventh in offense. They have the sixth best net rating, first in true shooting percentage. They've kind of found their stroke from 3-point range, been shooting the ball really well. And then if you watch that, or if anybody watched that game over the weekend where they played the Nuggets, like they had the absolute nut game plan for defending Jokic, which I feel like they always kind of have a pretty good plan against Jokic. But I mean, Mike Malone was pissed that Jokic only took 7-8 field goal attempts, but they were playing like a lot of front defense. They're double teaming him basically every time he got the ball, and it worked out well. I think you're okay when Aaron Gordon is your leading scorer and he's the guy that's beating you. So I think that's kind of the game plan. It's obviously harder or easier said than done, but they executed a very, very good game plan. And it seems like JJ Redick's got this team firing on all cylinders right now. But as for tonight, this should just be a highly competitive game. A lot of emotions running high on both ends of the court. Matchup-wise, that's a little bit tougher for Dallas for all those reasons I mentioned. Lakers just playing really, really good defense, whereas the Mavs are the second worst team in rim protection this month. But starting with Kyrie, he's probably going to play a ton of minutes. Only played 32, I believe, against the Warriors. That was a blowout. But this is a pretty big game. Obviously, he's going to want to put on against his former teammate. The Lakers are fourth in the West right now. Dallas is eighth, just 3 games back. So a win here could go a pretty long way. And he's routinely playing 40-plus minutes in games that are close. The Lakers don't really have a lot of strong guard defenders. But as we always kind of say, like he's a little bit too pricey at 9.2K because I don't think that 55 is within the range of outcomes for him. I don't think that's enough tonight or really most nights at the point guard position. So I probably won't be getting to too much Kyrie, but I do like the spot for PJ Washington. He returned from that ankle injury that held him out for a while, played 37 minutes, and then last game the minutes were cut, obviously, with the blowout. But it's a good matchup. I like attacking Rui. I like attacking LeBron. He resumed a pretty strong role, 17 field goal attempts, 44.25 DK points in his first game back from injury. So I think he's probably the best option on Dallas tonight. And then Max Christie, I don't think I'm going to be playing him, but I did a little bit of a small deep dive into his numbers as a member of Dallas versus the Lakers. And he looks like he's just much more comfortable in this situation, especially on offense. He shot the ball very efficiently. We have a 260-minute sample of Max Christie on Dallas. He has a 60% effective field goal percentage, 64% true shooting, and averaging 0.9 fantasy points per minute. I saw a little neck in chat. I know he's going to like that breakdown. And then if you look at those numbers in comparison to his time in LA, he had a 54% effective field goal percentage, 59% true shooting, and just 0.66 fantasy points per minute. So just a much better role and much better fit for him in Dallas. Don't think I'm going to be playing him, but just kind of wanted to highlight that quickly. Secondary guys on Dallas, don't think I have too much interest. Any one of these guys can get hot. I think Exum should have a pretty big defensive role tonight. He's only 4.1K and has shown some ceiling, but probably not the night for him, I don't think. On the Lakers side, I think that Luka is probably one of the first guys you look to in a single entry. Came off of his best game as a member of the Lakers, put up 32, 10, and 7, 68 DK points, and that was just in 31 minutes. Lost about 3 minutes due to blowout. So it seems like they probably want him around like that 35-minute mark for now. Maybe that gets extended a little bit against his old team. Definitely think JJ Redick is the type of guy that would buy into that type of narrative. I just don't think that – I think that this is a great spot for Luka. I will say that matchup-wise, I think it's better for LeBron. The Mavs do kind of have the guys that can give Luka some fits with PJ, Max Christie, Dante Exum, I think all matching up decently well with him. But I don't think that should matter. He looked like he was back to like his normal self. Somebody on Twitter said every time you see Luka, he's losing weight. So I think he's taking it seriously. But there was even the comments from JJ Redick. I forget the exact wording, but basically like he wanted Luka in that game against Denver to take over and get back to the way that he knows how to play. And he did. So I think it's a great spot for him. think it's a really good spot for LeBron. Second worst rim defense in the league, so that should be right up LeBron's alley. It's going to be attacking the rim. Been very good. 51 DK points in 3 straight games. Going to want one of those guys in most of my lineups tonight. And then the secondary guys, you're just kind of getting a little too different, I think, playing Reeves right now. But he's shown upside playing alongside 2 really high usage superstars. But I think that DFS and Rui are kind of interesting tonight. There was some interview quotes from Dorian Finney-Smith saying that he's been getting like the best looks from 3-point range that he's ever had in his career, and he's just kind of rushing it. So maybe, we've seen him have some success or a lot of success playing alongside Luka. So I think he's okay. And then Rui's just been playing really good. So I like those guys a little bit as flyers.
Oh, yeah, I always like Rui. It's hard for me to love as many of these secondary pieces with what I do expect to be a Luka game. But hey, would you be shocked if Dallas just throws a double on Luka all game and it's like, you're not going to be the one to spoil our party and be like, we might lose, but it's not going to be because of you dropping 50. It could be you dropping 15 assists. Think there's any way they just completely do whatever they can to take away Luka?
Yeah, I think it's definitely possible. But then you're putting LeBron in situations where he becomes, it's like those double teams lead to a lot of open looks. Give the ball to LeBron, and then there's one person on him and somebody's open. I think LeBron is a pretty damn good passer, so he'll find the open man. So I don't necessarily think that they're going to want to live and die by that. But
live and die by Rui and DFS and them shooting threes on the outside. And thing is just, man, if Luka, not that the Dallas and their front office isn't feeling it or hearing it already, but he goes and drops a 45 piece on you or something, that's not going to be it's not going to go over well. So Jason asked, how do you set, just say you don't want anyone more than 50%. Right here, max exposure. You click this, set max exposure, and you said 50%. That right there will not allow anybody to get over 50% right there. And again, 500 teams, so we'd hit the build teams. We did get through all 7 games. And again, from here, I'll just show you if it builds, how you can take the next step and then how you can upload it into DraftKings. Rio, while this is going on, any final thoughts of this nice 7-game slate? We did get Jakob Poeltl news. He is out now. We aren't really waiting on too much. It's not one of those slates where we're waiting on injury news like it has, pretty much hardly. The Houston stuff and then Darius Garland is pretty much all we're waiting on. Any final thoughts with that stuff, with the slate in general?
Nah, Little Neck is speak my language. I think the ulterior motive to trading Luka was what he said, but I don't want to get into the conspiracy side of sports.
Was it the beer thing he said, or was it?
No, it was the casino.
Oh, the casino. All right,
I don't think that there's. I think we went a little bit longer than normal for this short of a slate, but obviously integrating the Sabersim stuff is going to be part of this moving forward, and we do have a lot of stuff planned in the future for. I don't even know what I'm allowed to say or not say, but we have stuff planned for people that are going to be Sabersim members. Everybody that's a member at SHIPIT, we'll get you guys squared away.
Yeah, so right here, again, if you do have the contest sims, you do that. You'd upload your lineups there. You'd click contest sim, and then it would run it. You can sort it by that. If you're on the core starter pack, Saber score, and if you're playing like 100 to 1,000 team or people in the contest, you would sort by this. And then just say you want to build, or you want to just see 50 teams or build 50 teams. You can edit that right here. Min uniques. The more min uniques, the more like it would. You couldn't just build a 1v1, a Sengun down to a different center. That would force you to have at least a 2v2 difference. 3, etc. would be there. What I also like, and this is where I mess with stuff, like 50 teams. I sort by exposure. You can see with the ownership at the field, we have it average. Then you can see the leverage. If you want to sort by leverage, all that is showing your exposure versus what you have with the field. Again, ball is not going to be 0.35% owned. That's got to get updated. But like if he was 23, you can see it. And again, just say I don't want to be 21% over the field on Fox. Maybe I just want to be 38%. So then I'd be a lot less. Or Luka, like 45%. I capped him at 50. Maybe he's one I'm fine getting 75% of, et cetera. Actually, because we capped him at 50, or everyone at 50 on the pre-build, you will not get that there. But little things like that. And just say, oh, I thought I wanted Elf Payton I was fine if he was on my teams. No, I don't want any Elf Payton. Unclick him, etc. So that's a way you can go narrow down your pool that way. Again, in team stacks, you can see like how many of my lineups have, like this has 4 Boston. Maybe I don't want 4 Boston on any team. If you want to check that team, Memphis, you can click the arrow right here. Bane, Vince, Edie, Morant. I don't want 4, even though you already knew that. So you can unclick there. Again, stack exposure. I don't use this at all for NBA, but NFL, MLB, NHL, stacking sports like that. Very, very big. Makes it very easy. MLB's coming up. Absolutely love it for that. NHL, you can check out, again, all these sports. Even if we don't offer it, you will have projections and ownership from Saber when they do offer it for all these sports. As you can see on this graphic right here, if you're just all access, you're probably grandfathered in for $69 or less with the content. Nothing's going to change there. If you do want to upgrade, you can upgrade to core. Many of you grandfathered in from Shiptimizer, $99. Now you can see, you can build 150 lineups on Saber. You can late swap in the Discord. We do have a Sabersim section as well. Plenty of people have been asking questions, getting help. Shout out Jordan, Tambo, and the team there. The starter, which we believe is the best value, you get 350 more teams from the 150, and you can get the projections ownership for the tennis, college basketballs of the world, like I was saying, and contest flashback, which is really big. Again, we have things on the agenda that we will be going to discuss more. If you want to check all this out, a lot of Sabersim has so many tutorials. Go to YouTube, Sabersim. If you want it for NBA, type in NBA. A bunch of stuff will come up. Ultimate, if you do want the Sims, again, I would recommend you play a decent amount of money, hundreds of dollars a week probably. If you want to just jump right into this, I use them. I think they're very good. I have nothing bad to say about them by any means. I think they're phenomenal. It's just if you're playing $50 a month, why would you spend $297 a month on the tool? That's the stuff I'm saying. Not everyone's playing a bunch of money, but if you do, I do think Sims very, very good. Nobody better in the industry than Sabersim. Hundreds of thousands of simulations going. I mean, like 30 seconds. What did that get done? 40 seconds. It got done those 500 teams. And I have a lot of stuff going on my screen. So no better time. Get over ShipItNation.com. Join the nation. Again, right here. This is how you can do it. Then we'll wrap it up. ShipItNation. Oh, that's not. I want to make it easy for everyone to get in if they can. Present. Share screen. Right here. ShipItNation.com. Click right here. Join the nation.
And I think you're still on the old screen. Still on. Yeah, still. There we go.
There we go. Thank you. Let's go. ShipItNation.com. Click Join the Nation, and you will be able to see all the packages. Again, with that same graphic, you'll be able to see what you sign up for. Again, the next 30 days, the best time. If you do want to try Sims, usually 321. Our best value, usually 139, gets you $129. And again, you can see right here, if you want weekly, monthly, annual, do remember the annual by far gets you the best deal. $99. If you do the starter package for the annual, you will get all of our content with the Sabersim, the late swap, flashback, everything for $99 a month. That takes us our content to like $30, Rio. Absolutely insane stuff. Again, we showed a lot of Sabersim today. There's days Rio won't be on the show. There's days like for baseball, if we have a quick hit or whatever, we have content, our written content. We also do have Sabersim. We have the Stone. Incorporate it all. And by far, my favorite part, such a great community in the Discord. Many of these people in YouTube are in the Discord as well. So just do us a favor, hit the like, hit the subscribe on the way out. If you do want to join us and try us out, absolutely no better time. You can see Join the Nation, check out all of the packages. If you're a Sabersim member, you can email info@shipination.com, mention all of that, and we will get you squared away. A lot of emails coming in, so we will get back as fast as possible. But email info@shipination.com if you have any questions about upgrading or anything. Hit that email as well. All right, Rio, good stuff. Hour and a half talking this slate, but again, use a lot of Sabersim. Wanted to show people, go more in depth with it. Got a bunch of tutorials out there. You're always doing your thing, dropping great knowledge. Let's have a day today. I'm feeling good about this one. Good luck, everybody. For Rio, I'm Titletown. Be safe. Peace.